Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight. For your information, this presentation will be recorded and posted to the Have Your Say page on our website for future reference. The purpose of this meeting is to share information with you about the next steps with the Rolla sewer system and to address your questions about the service. When we met last year, we committed to meeting again this year, and so here we are. We would like to commit to a meeting again in 2022 so the understanding of where we're at with the system, where all the current project that's being done should be completed. We had hoped to be able to meet with you in person tonight and had made plans to do so, but COVID restrictions means we have to meet in this virtual format. I hope one day soon we will be able to meet face-to-face again. Until then, this is the best way to follow the provincial health officer's directives and keep people safe while still gathering to share information, get your thoughts, and answer questions. My name is Leonard Hebert. I'm the Director for Area D of the Peace River Regional District. I'm joined by Carrie Bonderoff, the General Manager of Environmental Services for the Peace River Regional District. We have staff working behind the scenes tonight to help run this meeting. Next slide, please. The agenda for tonight is a presentation followed by a question and answer session. We have an hour, so we have plenty of time for questions and discussion. Carrie will be doing the bulk of the presentation. As I said, we're here to share information with you about the condition of the assessment and to address any questions you may have. We are in late stages of this process, and lots of feedback and discussion has already taken place. Tonight is another opportunity for us to update you and for you to ask questions. Before we begin the presentation, I want to let you know that at this point you are muted. After the presentation, if you want to make a comment or ask a question, if you called into the meeting, press *6 to unmute yourself or *9 to raise your hand. State your name and ask your question clearly. If you logged in via Zoom, use the raise hand feature in the reaction section. It looks like a smiley face to indicate that you have a question. We'll do our best to answer your questions in order in which they come in. Again, please be aware that this meeting is being recorded and will be posted to our website for people to watch who are not able to be here tonight. And now I will hand it over to Carrie.
Thank you, Director Hebert, and good evening, everyone. I will be presenting on the Rolla sewer budgets and costs for tonight. On this slide, the Rolla sewer budget breakdown for 2019 through to 2020 is shown. The 2021 expenses will not be completed until December 31st, and the 2022 budget is an estimate as of November 10th. So the budget is always subject to change with the adoption of the PRD 2022 budget. So this is an overview of the revenue and expenses, and over the next few slides, I will cover the revenue and expenses in more detail. So next slide, please. Okay, so as shown, you can see from the first budget table, part of the revenue to fund this service comes from taxes. Previously, the PRD has used frontage tax to levy taxes. The PRD adopted Rolla Sewer Service Parcel Tax Bylaw number 2459 on September 9th, 2021. The bylaw changes the cost recovery method from frontage tax to parcel tax. The parcel tax is charged annually on each parcel within the Rolla sewer service area. The amount is calculated by dividing the total expenses required to provide the service by the number of parcels in the service area. So each parcel will pay the same amount. Next slide, please. The change from frontage tax to parcel tax will take effect on the 2022 Rural Property Tax Notice. The parcel tax amount is estimated to be $1,200 per parcel in the service area. The tax is used to cover the cost of providing the service. Next slide, please. Operational costs include staff time, wages, insurance, electricity, vehicle use, consulting and professional fees, and expenditures spent on operational activities such as small repairs and regular maintenance of pumps and other infrastructure. It includes the usual cost to operate the sewer service and existing system. Next slide, please. So our next slide will outline the 2021 and the upcoming 2022 budgets. So next slide, please. On this slide, we see with the Rolla sewer operation, we see that the Rolla sewer operation costs are comparable year by year. The major difference in 2021 was that a condition assessment was conducted on the collection system, which was mainly the pipes and manholes. This money came out of the studies, plans, and assessments line and was funded through grants. The assessment helps us identify what parts of the system need repairs, when the repairs need to take place, and how much those repairs will cost. We can then use these costs and budget for them appropriately in the future. This type of maintenance helps us maintain the functionality and the useful life of the sewer collection system and possibly prevent any emergency repairs. Next slide, please. The current operational reserve balance for the Rolla sewer function is $7,936. Every year, we should put money aside to build up the reserve. The reserve would provide a cushion during unexpected events. A typical operating reserve, at a minimum, should be able to cover operational expenses for 3 to 5 months. We are aiming to establish, over time, a $150,000 emergency operating reserve. Next slide, please. As you saw on the first budget table, we were able to complete approximately $143,000 in capital repairs on the treatment part of the sewer system in 2021. Those repairs were covered through grant funding provided by Director Hebert. This includes capital costs include expenditures over $5,000 for repairs and maintenance of infrastructure or new infrastructure repair or replacement for things such as pumps, blowers, pipes, aeration equipment, curb stops, valves, and the list goes on. Next slide, please. We plan to complete the remaining treatment and collection system repairs in 2022. The repairs identified in the condition assessments are estimated to cost $767,000. These repairs include repairs to manholes and sewer pipes and to the lagoons and lift station. Director Hebert has also committed $20,000 from grant funds to start to build the capital reserve. This brings the total grant funding contributions in the last 2 years to the Rolla sewer function to $987,200. It is ultimately the responsibility of the residents to pay for those upgrades. Unfortunately, the capital reserves have insufficient funds to cover the repair costs. Without grant funding, these costs would have to be requisitioned through parcel tax or borrowed through a loan in which residents would be responsible for the debt and interest payments. Director Hebert is willing to allocate available grant funding towards the necessary repairs. However, moving forward, capital reserves will have to be built up to protect the residents from unexpected increases in taxes. Next slide, please. The current capital reserve balance for the Rolla sewer function is $0. For a system built in 1977, this is not sufficient to cover necessary capital replacements or repairs. The reserve fund will need to be built up to cover future repair costs. The estimated cost to replace the system in 2021 are $2,718,428, with an estimated useful life of 40 years remaining. This would amount to $961 that would need to be set aside annually to cover a new system in 2061. We need to start somewhere, and so starting in 2022, Director Hebert will set aside $20,000 from Fair Share grant funds to start building the capital reserve. For 2023, we will have to start putting away money for both the operational and capital reserves, and we will evaluate the amount at that time. Now I'm going to pass it back to Director Hebert to wrap up the presentation. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Carrie. We're almost ready to move into the question and answer period. For those of you who are new to Zoom Town Hall format, we'll give you some technical details. At this point, you are muted. If you called into the meeting, press *6 to unmute yourself or *9 to raise your hand, state your name, and ask your question clearly. If you logged in via Zoom, use the raise hand feature in the reaction section. It looks like a smiley face to indicate that you have a question. Questions submitted through the chat will be reviewed by our moderator. Sorry, we're not doing chat. Apologize for that. Please try to avoid speaking over others and be courteous to others. Depending on how many questions we get, we will do our best to answer them all in the order in which they come in. Thank you. We are now ready to take your questions.
You hear me?
Go ahead, Penny.
Okay. So I'm just not sure if I was fully understanding when you were talking about the $1,200 per parcel. Is that for each lot that a person owns? Is that for if a person has got 2 lots amalgamated together to make one? If a person has 5 lots, are they paying $1,200 for each lot? I'm not quite understanding when you talk about parcels what that meant.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Penny. So just in case everybody didn't hear, Penny's just asking for clarification on the parcel tax per lot. She wants to ensure that she understands that it's $1,200 per lot. So if you regularly receive multiple parcel tax notices, it will be on each one of those parcel tax notices. So each property within the service function area is estimated to pay about $1,200 in taxes for 2022.
Okay, so that means if I have, that means if I have 2 lots that have been amalgamated, I will just pay $1,200 for that amalgamated part. Single lot.
That's correct.
Ouch. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ellen, you're next.
Hi, this is Terry Morris. Again, concerning this parcel tax, does that include all the lots which stand around empty where people have been driven out of Rolla because of no school and no other facilities? What I'm saying is, if you look at Rolla, you'll find that there's an awful lot of plots, but there's not that many houses. Presumably, if it's a sewer tax, only those that are going to use a sewer will be taxed.
No, the bylaw, Terry, specifies that it's all parcels within the service function area will pay parcel tax.
And can you tell me how many that is?
There are 75 properties within the service function area currently.
That was my question. Thank you.
Thank you for asking.
Kelty's iPad.
Hi there. This is Kelty Scobie, Rolla resident here. Just maybe in layman terms for me. So that's $1,200 on top of our existing taxes then for 2022? Or can you clarify that for me, please?
Thanks, Kelty. So you've been being taxed for the sewer system previously. And so the sewer system shows up on your tax notices as Rolla Sewer or Rolla Hamlet Sewer, I believe. So that piece alone will be $1,200. Does that answer your question?
A raise in taxes?
You betcha. Thanks very much.
Okay.
Did you say they're raising it, Tom?
Yeah.
Any further questions? Must have been pretty good at explaining stuff. We're not getting too many.
Hi there, this is Christopher Graham on. And I was wondering, are some of those repair costs including road repairs, or is that just the sewer network?
That's just the sewer network. The road, I believe, falls under Ministry of Transport. That's kind of out of our purview. I'm going to have to look to Carrie for clarification if it's the road that goes to the lagoons and stuff or treatment, those we take care of.
Yeah, so thank you. Just to clarify, which road are you referring to?
I'm just referring to any of the roads, given it sounded like some of the repairs were to the actual piping.
Yeah, so most of the repairs are to the actual piping. So the new findings from the collection system condition assessment that was done this year found that we needed $330,000 in order to complete those repairs. The condition assessment that we talked about last year was for the treatment system, and part of that included the access road that is strictly owned by the PRD and used to access our lagoons, and that has already been updated, and that was done using grant funding. But yeah, the access road is part of accessing the treatment system. So it is part of the residents' responsibility for maintenance.
Any other questions? Clarity? This will be posted on our website, so if you miss something today, you can always go back and check it out again just to make sure you got clarity again. Penny?
No, it's Don here. What I'm wondering is, what if the residents opt out of this whole program and go back to putting our own sewer systems in, putting our own septic systems?
Good question. I'm going to turn that one over to Carrie.
As you're within the service function area, the bylaw states that all parcels within the service function area will pay parcel tax.
What if all of us decide we don't want this anymore because of the cost? It'd be cheaper for us to put our own septic systems in on our own lots and get rid of this tax, period.
That's a really good question. I currently do not have an answer for you. However, it's something that we can take note of, and following this presentation, we're going to be writing down the questions and answers and posting those also on our website, so we can add that one in with the detailed answer for you, just to make sure that we get it right.
Okay.
And just to clarify, to make sure we understand, what you're asking for is what would happen if we shut this function down and you just put in your own system, correct?
That's right. Because each person has a lot, probably big enough to handle their septic system again. And we would get away from the
thanks.
$100 every year. I mean, it'll cost probably $4,000 maybe to set up a system, but in 3 years or 4 years, we're done. Not ongoing.
Okay, thanks.
Thank
Kelty.
you.
Sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you. Can you clarify one other thing for me? I'm just trying to remember my taxes back in 2021. What was the estimated cost from last year on that sewer line, that Hamlet sewer line? What was it approximately last year? And then it's going to be $1,200 this year, I understand. So what was it last year, just out of curiosity?
So last year we had a frontage tax, which is a little bit difficult to describe because every parcel pays differently depending on how much of your property borders the underground infrastructure. And so parcel tax is calculated based on the feet along the front of your property. And so you and your neighbor would have paid a different amount of taxes to cover the expenditures. And so it was a full range. I mean, I can't tell you what the different ranges are off the top of my head, but we can pull that for you so you can see it. The difference is now with parcel tax is every single parcel will pay the exact amount.
Does that answer your question, Kelty? I see that you're muted again. Any further questions or clarity? Seeing none, I would like to thank everyone for participating tonight. We hope you've had some good information and have answered your questions. Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you.